is looking for something to do, like on your phone. I think that that's probably the saddest thing to see someone doing, which is like everybody now. So I'm gonna do something short. I'm just doing something short today because everything's malfunctioning. Because I started using Clubhouse. Yay! Check this out. I'm gonna turn this on. There, look at that. Now I'm just like everybody else. I had to get an external sound card to do the split audio. So I'm going to keep this short. Push notifications. Okay, push notifications. What that is that's like the little red dot on the app, right? If you use an iPhone user and Android, whatever. It's the little thing that says, hey, something to look at inside this application. Now, take social media out of this. Let's just look at applications for business. Push notifications, they're all you should be using. You shouldn't, because like say for example, email at the same time. A lot of these apps will send a notification via email. However, why would you need to have it notified twice? And then also, if you look at how your phone behaves, you can adjust a lot more with a push notification in terms of how you have it set to remind you or notify you. But with email, it's just email. Email's here, like the answer is so vague, which that's why I always find it interesting when people open their phone to look for something to do. Because as far as I'm concerned, your phone should let you know when you have something that you should be doing that requires real attention instead of fabricating some sort of attention because you don't have anything to do at that moment, which I think is what I see all the time. Everybody's obviously not running a business when they're on their phone or they're just on social media. But the interesting thing is that the amount of, and I've said this 1,000 times before, so I'm going to add this into the perfect business because I think the perfect business is where you're not a slave to the technology, right? You don't have to do anything except for when it's time for you to do it. And it's like your urgency, it's urgent, right? It becomes to your attention, or it's just at your attention for that time. And if you're operationally fluent, like if your whole systems are all connected and integrated, then the only times that you should be, brought to attention with your phone is when it's for you directly and for that task or whatever. I know it's hard to describe, but if you turn everything off on your phone, right? You don't even carry your phone around. You work in reverse, okay? So I mean, it's difficult, but try it on a weekend. Try it on a weekend. Don't even bring out your phone. And then start to think about what you would be using your phone for at the times that you're too far away from your computer and you need to use something. You need to check something, or something needs to be checked on you. And you'll find that it's not very often, right? You'll find that it's way less and less. The only things that are bringing people to their attention, like all the time, are email checking and checking inbox for received email, because it's just any email. So they don't know what's in there. So they got to check it all the time. And then basically, yeah. So email and what else? Social media. Okay. So that's why I say I have to remove social media from this all the time, because social media is like it's the attention that people have to spend to it. It doesn't generate, for the most part, and it doesn't generate revenue. Right? So then I look at it as you should only, if you're a business owner, you should only be interacting with social media if you can connect it to some sort of revenue. If maybe it's a story brand, I understand. If you're influencing something, I understand, but that should be it, right? So how about this? 2 phones. So in terms of like what I would think the perfect business would be from a business owner's perspective, 2 phones, right? 2 different SIM cards, 1 phone for work and 1 phone for everything else. How hard is that? Because now you actually have the easiest way to physically split these push notifications or these relationships. It sounds wild, but I'm going to work this in reverse today. Because if you have two phones, now two SIM cards, that means there's two phone numbers, right? It's now if you have two phone numbers, and you can also use like these virtual phone services that are connected to your business, like Open Phone is the one that I always promote, or Grasshopper. Open Phone's a little bit more forward. And then so you can have that Open Phone on your phone and give out like an area code number that is whatever, and the idea of where you are. And the idea is that you can separate it and also control it. Because if you start to look at the metrics of, say, Open Phone, well, it's got SMS, and you can track your SMS it's basically SMS is like an inbox, as well as you can delegate, you can share. It's like a team channel for your phone. So then you would have a phone number that everybody else would have access to, which isn't just your phone number. You see how this works, right? But dedicating yourself to like this personal and business relationship with one phone is the problem. I think that so if you were to basically do that, separate them, there's one extreme power move. Okay. And then obviously you don't have to, and I've been forced to be part of this conversation quite a bit, you don't have to give out your mobile number to a point of contact, especially. And the way that you could say that this is a modern operation is you're like, well, I'm not, that phone number isn't a team-based exercise, right? So if you have a team-based telephone number like Open Phone, then your team can see what's happening too, because it's very rare that there's going to be one instance that you only have to be part of, especially if, of course people will argue that, but I'm just saying it's doable, right? So now let's go even further. Your email address, okay? So like I said, I wasn't going to do this a lot. My computer was malfunctioning. The malfunctioning, who says that? The next thing is an email address, personal. Now, I'm not an advocate of email at all, but I'm just going to say that, let's say a Gmail account. Obviously, you're going to get a Gmail account. Please, if you want to get an Outlook.com, that's up to you. But so let's say you have a personal Gmail account, okay? That should be where you're directing those emails to those services that are connected. If you're a business owner, don't use your business email for anything other than business, period. Because I find that now you're cluttered. That's how the personal and the business gets mixed in together, right? So now if you have an @gmail.com address, start to filter your personal life over to there, your friends, your family, and all the services that are not business related over here. And then you can have your whatever your name is at your domain.com, which should be, in the owner's case, a bot. That's what it is in my case. Why? Well, because I don't see the need. It's not an urgent channel. Jason is not an urgent channel. There are channels that are urgent, and that's over here. It's a different email address. But at the same time, the channels of emails should be the same for every business. You should have hello at, or some sort of cool derivative for your call to action email that's usually connected to the form on a website or whatever. And then you have, sales, and then you have accounts, et cetera. But those aren't singular emails anymore. Those are team-based mailbox applications. But see, that's what people don't know. So in terms of constructing a perfect business, that's how you should look at things. And in the executive removal is something you should start to see, you should start to do right away, because it gets harder and harder and harder the longer and longer you go, right? I'm sure that me introducing the idea of using a personal Gmail account has already got people thinking that, there's like 1,000 things I got to change. I'm like, yeah, get started. Start now, because you might as well. You might as well start right now, just because it's only going to get worse, especially if you start business building and you start owning multiple small or medium businesses, et cetera. You're just going to have all of these emails all over the place. And don't do the aliasing and forwarding where you have 2 or 3 businesses and they all go to the same inbox. Oh God, no, please. That just makes it, that's like compound interest problem, right? So I guess what I'm saying is that there's a document that I have in front of me, and I was looking at it today, and I was thinking about all these things I could talk about. Push notifications is one of them, and bandwidth is another, but I'm not going to get there today. But these things are really important in terms of how your attention is spent per day to generate revenue, right? Like, let's look at it as, well, your business isn't in the business of generating time. Mine is. Right? But say maybe yours is, but let's just say that it's not. Your business is in the business of generating, volume deliverables, whether that's like selling your time, or it's like selling your your time for revenue, or it's like selling a product for some sort of revenue, right? So if you look at it, how much bandwidth do you personally have if you're being super distracted all over the place by 1,000 different emails that are coming in on your phone? Mixed, like you can see, it just all goes. This is just a compound interest problem over and over and over again, right? So when I always bring up the bandwidth concept, and I'll touch on it just for a second here. So bandwidth is like your ability to handle so many the way I look at it is high level decisions all day. Not just decisions, not just like, brute force, like just get it done, task-based decisions. I'm talking about like thinking about the whole picture of your business consistently, those type of questions answered every single day. You only have so much bandwidth. Elon Musk is a perfect example of this. Like, he's only dedicating certain amount of his time to like really, really important questions, and then everything else just falls into place because he's got great teams, etc., right? But if you look at your bandwidth, if you do not have, and this is where the people will hopefully just change people's minds. If you don't have operational fluency, and what I mean by that is that if the information from one application environment doesn't immediately pass into the other, the other environment, or it's only information that's inside your head and not seen by other people that could utilize it, like instead of asking you, well, now you have a broken operational fluency, flow. And that's where the bandwidth comes in, because what you're doing is your bandwidth is spent asking for information from other people. And if you're asking for information from other people, and the larger your business gets, you can imagine how this just turns into some sort of like covert micromanagement. And then also what happens is it turns into some sort of form of you need what you're doing. It's a bandwidth vampire. I already talked about this. You become a bandwidth vampire. I didn't want to go there, but it's true. You just send an email and you ask for information and you wait. And then you hope on the other side someone is going to reply as quick as possible. And it doesn't just have to be email. It could be a phone call or SMS, right? And the wait is that wasted time is all part of like this whole daily bandwidth thing that you have. So I'm just trying to say that in terms of an executive, making the executive decisions in a perfect business environment, before we even get into an app stack and before we even select the applications that we're going to make that all integrate together, for your ecosystem, for your industry. And remember, I always like to mention there's only so many of them. Like after a while, that's why I'm so excited to do this. It just gets like repetitious, because when you start doing the same environments over and over and over again for similar businesses, why would you break that pattern if it's so perfect, like the right choices of things? But it's the interaction with the phone that gets in the way. It really is. Like the phone is a double-edged sword. Like I don't care what anybody says, it works and it doesn't. And I think that's just because it isn't set up properly. So I'm going to have to set up a phone online. Like I'm going to have to do a live stream of setting up an Android. Kill me. Or the iPhone will be a lot easier. I don't really, I don't really have anything against Android, except for the fact that there's too many settings that the user can go find that are unnecessary for them to change. And so when you're diagnosing a problem with an Android, it's a lot more difficult than an iPhone. It really is. They'll both do the same thing, but I just don't like the tech support side coming from, when in my past life in IT, I would totally hate setting up an Android over the phone, because I don't know, like you can find out now with a lot of utilities, but I'm just saying you wouldn't know if they went down 7 different layers of advanced features, and that's why they can't do something, Whereas with an iPhone, it's just like, yeah, just reinstall the app, just hold it down, delete it. Anyway, so yeah, that's a really important thing is the phone use and the personal and the business separation. So I'm going to really focus on that, because I think that, if anything, the perfect business should be optimizing your business. Like if you own the business and your time, your bandwidth, why wouldn't you want to optimize it so that you would be only needed as much as you would have to be needed for things that you don't want to do, like the littlest amount of that. And people will argue and they'll say, well, I built a business, so I should be attentive to a lot of these things. Well, yeah, but if a software package can do it, Why do you have to? I've been down that road so many times, and I think the argument is always that there's a value problem. People that value their time, and if they're not doing something, they don't feel valuable, especially in their own business. So then what are they going to do anyway? So I might as well spend 8 hours doing something that could be instantaneous, because what would I do with those 8 hours? Anyway, so yeah, I said I was only going to do this for a few minutes, but the computer hasn't crashed yet. So yeah, that's it. Push notifications, bandwidth, yeah, that kind of thing. Oh, and one of the things that I was going to mention was I started formatting my phone again. Basically, I wanted to go look at what the applications were that I actually use. So this is a real power move for anybody that's listening. Super power move. Open up anything, or even have a pen and like a notebook, like a Moleskine, it doesn't matter, or a doc, a Google Doc, and every day, like, write down what app you use and when, right? Like, that's what I'm doing again, because I caught myself jumping into some of these apps that I don't usually use very often because they were available on, it's only because I moved them to the wrong panel, the wrong screen. And so you have this document, and you have your phone, and what you do is you just go and write and type in or write down what app you use and when. And then watch the pattern, because you're probably only technically going to be using only so many. What you are going to notice are the rogue applications that you probably shouldn't have on that screen, that home screen. Remove everything else. Just pull everything over as you use it, and then write it down or type it out. And I've started to do that again, and it's crazy, because like I thought I was super efficient, and it's not. It's because I've been experimenting with certain things, and it started to bleed into the normal operation of my phone again, which is wrong. So I think that this should be a thing for people, maybe a monthly thing. Even if you want to be super efficient, like a monthly cleaning of your home screen would be like a great thing to do, because like, even on my phone, say for example, everybody's always curious what's on my phone, but even on my phone, for example, I have an iPhone, and down at the bottom, the things that I have, and I'll tap into this later on, but I've got Slack, Google Chrome, and then I got this application called Flight, which I can describe what that is, and then I have Grasshopper. I do not have text, SMS, or iMessage down there. I do not have my telephone icon down there, like the one that's connected to the SIM card. And then I do not have like Safari down there, because I'm not really a Safari user. And I don't have email because it's not on my phone. So that's why I have Slack there. So my bottom row is that. Why? Obviously, because those are the applications, like I do use my phone to search, right? And then I do use my phone for phone, but that's when it's connected to my calendar. So I use a digital VoIP service, Grasshopper. And then I do use Slack, because Slack is everything. Slack is like, if you don't use it yet, if you don't think you can use it, go check to see if it will work in your business, for your team, or in your whatever it is you're doing. Because if it can, it's a game changer. Every advanced person that I talk to, every advanced business owner, every advanced everything, is a huge Slack user. Unfortunately, it's not the same as Microsoft Teams. It's not the same as anything that Google does, because it's its own thing, right? Slack is its own thing. And that's the thing. That's what sucks about Microsoft Teams. It has so far to go to become even close to Slack. But I wouldn't discount Teams. Teams will work as well. Teams or Slack. But Slack. Anyway, so that's why I have Slack down there, because that's like my business chatter, right? And it's also where you can see your Slack bot, and you can see all that stuff. So now, and it digests everything for me, so I don't need my email on my phone, right? Because it's channeled through Slack. I will mention though, I'll close after this, but I did want to mention Flight. So what Flight is if I can remember here, if I'm just going to go look at, I think it's Flyte. I'm just trying to remember here. Yeah, it doesn't. Anyway, Flight is an application that I use because it is just an arrow. It's like a purple arrow. And what it'll do is it sends, like, you open it up and it's a start typing, and you can type in anything you want in, and it sends it as an email. Now, I know I said I don't have email on my phone, but I do send from certain applications using email. Now, the reason why I use Flight is because there's two ways. It's very easy to type in some notes, and then it either goes directly into my Evernote. And yeah, I'm an Evernote user, but that's only because I started with it a long time ago. But Evernote has the ability to use an email address for reception. So anything sent to the email address goes into your notebook. So now I have like the perfect business is where whenever I come up with an idea, I just like type it out. If it's not audio, whatever, and it sends it directly into Evernote, like fast. But it's because I don't want to use my phone a lot. So I pull it out, got some notes, and then I just send. Right, and it goes. It's already in there, and I can look at it later. That is so funny that is on my home row, right? Like that utility is that useful because it's the speed. I time myself. If I do open it up and I do go into it and I do type something very quickly, something that I want to know, or I paste a URL or whatever, I just slide it up and then I close the app. And then later on, I can digest that information in some other fashion, probably on my computer. Anyway, there's a lot to talk about, and I have to watch myself, and this computer wasn't functioning very well. So I'm going to leave it at this. Hopefully I can figure out this Clubhouse for next time.